Good late Thursday, early Friday. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now. Give me a look at those temperatures late into the night. You see those 40s on the board. That's kind of a sign here of that storyline as we're getting toward that Friday morning, that Halloween trick-or-treating night, and toward that Saturday morning there as well. Maybe even some frost, and that's something I'm keeping my eyes on. Some of those inland areas there where we have the winds really die down. That could be an issue for the first time in many months. So just keep that in mind. We'll keep an eye on that. Could end up getting maybe a frost advisory somewhere. We'll see. Maybe just patchy enough where it's not to that level of concern. But you do see here these readings a little bit warmer toward the coastline here as we're looking and as we're tracking the latest. But I know this is the coolest area we've really been seeing. So Halloween, a chilly one for sure. Even down in the central Florida in the 50s. So definitely something to be mindful of. Just that jacket there on hand. But at least we're seeing calm conditions. Sadly, that's not the case out towards some of the different parts in the Atlantic here with historic Hurricane Melissa's, just terrible, terrible impacts. I'm going to go ahead and put on the infrared satellite right now. That'll kind of tell that weather story, and you'll be able to see we still have Melissa out here. It is weakening on down now, but still having some different impacts being felt as we're looking toward different areas there in toward the base in a category 1 of the 2 a.m. advisory. They're in the vicinity of Bermuda. There's still a hurricane warning out for them. So that's something they're tracking. But of course, we can't forget the devastation that happened, especially down toward Jamaica. Just absolutely tragic there. Big impacts in Cuba, some in the Bahamas as well. But Jamaica, some parts of Jamaica, maybe not as much to the east around Kingston because of where it hit further west, but around Kingston, not as bad, but up there, some of those other areas there in toward the western side, all the way through Montego Bay, just devastation there and a terrible tragedy, a global tragedy there as we're looking toward that island nation there, as we're, just monitoring that, it's cleared out there, but the recovery is going to take a long, long time. A deadly storm there in the Caribbean, a Category 5 that, we're not going to soon forget here in the meteorology world as we're looking at things here. I know, looking at the graphics, you can see Melissa here on this list is still active. If we get another storm here this season, which is definitely possible, could even have more than one, Nestor, Olga there, your next 2 names as we're looking and as we're tracking things here. So that's kind of the storyline with everything. Let me go ahead and see that tropical climatology as we're giving you guys, everything. I know we're coming on even a little bit later tonight. We're getting that data in, but we've had some issues with the streaming vendors, so we've had to come on a little bit later tonight. But you can see here that tropical climatology still shows in toward November there's still a chance. Remember storms like Nicole in 2022, Ada there in 2020, more of a flood threat towards South Florida with that, and then back in 1985 we had Hurricane Kate out toward Tallahassee. I know, of course, even though Melissa was very far away, had that big flooding impact toward Lake and Brevard counties, though, even though, that was not direct, it was very indirect, but because of the overall meteorological pattern, the squeeze play with that. Now, this storm did not hit, though, the continental U.S. did. Melissa didn't come close to doing that with any type of direct landfall, but just as of the preliminary data here, if it would have, just to give you perspective here, it had 185 at landfall to Melissa, and so did that 1935 Labor Day hurricane. So that is something to keep in mind. And so far, the preliminary pressure for Melissa here 90 years later was 892 millibars, the lowest there when it was heading, which is just terrible. It's just absolutely awful here as we're looking and tracking things. It's, nature's fury there at its worst, unfortunately. And again, this is that graphic I was alluding to there, Kate. That storm of record there still for Leon County, even though the storm I'm alluding to with that, that hit there later on in the year in November, it was one, that was so late on, you wouldn't have expected it to be the worst storm, going back since at least 1950 for Tallahassee, Thomasville, Cairo, Moultrie, and Tipton, but that's exactly what we're seeing here. So definitely something to take note of. The story, with the storm of record to the east of Stillwater or Bradford, Duval, Camden, Charlton, you kind of get the idea as we look further off toward the east. Now the drought monitor here, I know that's something we gotta watch. We'll be watching that. We'll be watching if we get some rain. We need some rain. We don't want storms. There's a chance of some storms in there. It's kind of iffy on that front here as we're looking and as we're tracking things right now, though. But we'll continue to monitor here. That's kind of iffy, but we're not gonna have any formal update Tuesday. We're off Tuesday unless we need to break in for something, and that'd probably be more on Monday if we did for some storms, or unfortunately if we have a wildfire threat. We gotta be careful because of that extreme drought here, lightning, or just the dryness with wind, with these lower dew points. We, like to sometimes not have rain, but we do need rain here and there. An extreme drought, that latest Thursday update there for Tallahassee, for areas there around Monticello, Madison there, Hamilton County, Jasper. I mean, you've seen Gadsden County, all over there, Quincy, Havana. That's that area around Marianna and Jackson County as well. So just not a good set of circumstances there. I know we have a rainfall forecast showing some precip, sure, maybe a half inch some areas. Some areas could get an inch. We don't want flooding like Central Florida had in spots. It's very random. Some areas getting not hardly anything. Some areas getting 19 inches or so. But you can see kind of that moisture toward the east, and it's looking kind of, a pretty calm picture here on this map in terms of rain next 7 days for many spots. Again, the water area, there's a chance it's iffy that some of the models are showing a lot more than others. Some just strong storms, towards Sunday, Monday, some guidance really not showing much of anything with precepts. So it's kind of an iffy thing. So just make sure you're watching with all that. I know you can go to clutter.com/radar for an interactive look at things. Again, we'll be off Tuesday unless we need to break in. Our next form update will be late Thursday, early Friday, unless something warrants. Again, the forecast is a little more uncertain than we would like, but I know Halloween night looking dry, even though this shows some rain in that 7-day period. Halloween night looking dry out there. Gonna be cool. Trick-or-treaters, the children gotta be careful there. We haven't had a time change until Saturday night, but still it could be dark when they're trick-or-treating, so gotta be careful here. I know we'll, give that extra hour of sleep, sitting this clock's back an hour Saturday night, but gotta be careful Friday night. Cool weather there. Folks wearing jackets. Try to wear, jackets that can be seen there. Don't, if you can, wear the darker ones because that might blend in there at night and the like, with it being, in toward the evening hours here. I know folks, on Friday, this, World Series going on as well. Just gotta be really careful here with everything. The trick-or-treater just got to be really careful as we're looking. I know not really seeing necessarily fog, right off, but we could end up having fog here and there later on in the time. I'm going to be kind of cool for that, more frost to be the storyline as we're looking in the, picture for Saturday morning. That's the bigger concern, but a big concern as well as that drought into toward Georgia here. You see more areas even in the extreme drought here. This is not a good sign for our southwest, south central, and even kind of starting to spread into southeastern Georgia counties here. That's a very concerning picture. We need precip. We don't want lighting. We don't want severe. We don't want flooding. But we got to have some rain because we're way down for the year. It's going to get worse. And then that's, in the spring, that's when we could really have problems. So over the years, decades, sometimes in the spring, you still don't have the rain, and then you get lightning or something like that. This could be a dangerous situation, so be mindful there. But now college football, a much, more interesting picture here in terms of, excitement in the area. You see this forecast, but I did something a little bit different for this as we're looking here. It was Halloween, folks are trying to get in that festive spirit. It's the 31st, it's a Friday. It's FSU homecoming weekend as well. We'll get into that here in just a second, but I put something together here that you guys should enjoy. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here with you, using the magic of green screen technology here on this Halloween to give you those college football forecasts. You can see here, first off, we're starting there with that Georgia-Florida game in Jacksonville. I know a lot of folks look forward to that every year. Georgia doing really well there with Kirby Smart as coach there. And this is going to be a 3:30 Saturday game there on ABC. It's going to be the last one in Jacksonville until 2028 with those stadium renovations going on. So next couple years they're moving toward Tampa and Atlanta, I believe, as they're looking ahead in toward the timeline. And looking around 70 degrees here for that game. A little bit cool, so you might want that jacket here. You can see a bit breezy as well, mostly sunny skies. So definitely intriguing. I know, again, using that green screen technology here is a little bit different but wanted to have some fun with things since we have Halloween on a Friday. We have all these games coming up, and the weather for these games look good. Not just this game. Now the game in Tallahassee, the weather looks good as well. Gonna be a little bit cooler though for FSU homecoming as we're looking out there on the ACC network. You can see the Wake Forest are coming to town. They're doing pretty well there with their head coach Jake Dickert and Mike Norvell's squad. FSU trying to rebound after recent losses. They had the bye week there. I know Kevin Sperry. It's a possibility. Maybe he'll play. We'll see. Maybe give the team a spark. Thomas Castellano's coming off some recent injuries there, so we'll see how that goes. But games on the ACC network there. This is homecoming weekend for the Noles. I know everybody excited to return to town. It's Halloween weekend too. As you can tell here with my floating head, I can just move this anywhere here as we're looking and as we're tracking things. Again, it's that magic of green screen technology. You can see just a jacket is needed though, so make sure you do have that around 60 degrees for that game. A 5% chance of rain. Really, that's just throwing it in there just to be on the safe side. So I know it's just so exciting for FSU there in terms of having a homecoming. The parade's here today on that Friday. It's looking pretty good for that. A little cool for that as well, though. So something to kind of bear in mind. I know, we're watching that wind to see, if that's a little bit much at times. I know it was around dark on that Thursday, but as we're looking towards Saturday night, that wind shouldn't be too big of a factor there toward Tallahassee. So again, it's Halloween. Just having some fun here. Some of the meteorologists doing this around the country and some different TV stations. So again, I guess I'm in the stadium now. Okay, here we go. But again, this is how green screen works. I have a green cloth in front of me. So what green screens do, they actually block out here the green. That's how you get the images put on the screen here. So that's kind of how things work overall with that here on this Halloween. And hoping for a happy and safe Halloween and safe Halloween weekend for everybody. I know it's the start of basketball season as well for FSU and Luke Loud, so that's exciting for the men, for the women there, of course, and then the Gators, the defending champs, so they're going to be out there out west. But for me, it's all about those Noles here on this homecoming weekend. Again, just go Noles. Everybody got my basketball jersey on and so support as we're looking at things and as we're tracking things here. I think that was a really fun segment for everybody there watching. I know trying to change things up a little bit here. Go Noles, have to always, rep my nose there and looking here, at a forecast for the next 7 days that look to be, kind of intriguing as we're going to have that cool air here. I have the asterisks for Saturday morning because I wanted to make sure we emphasize these spots could have some, patchy frost there, those more vulnerable spots, something we haven't had about a month. So, if you have some of those plants in those, more inland spots here that are more vulnerable to the cool air, because as you see 39, some areas will be warmer, the beaches, sure, you won't really have that there. I mean, this is the most, vulnerable, most susceptible spots, but most spots, inland, we could see, inching toward like 36, 37, which can get it to you, that frost, get that to you if you're not, seeing that wind around. But, we're going to have some wind. We had wind on that Thursday there after that boundary came through. I know we're really happy for that boundary. Made sure that Melissa didn't come our way, though. As we look here towards Sunday, you do see the rain chances starting in some uncertainty, though. We'll be keeping our eyes on all of that here for you in the Weather Center, obviously, in terms of the rainfall chances. Dropped them a little from what I had the other night. We're going to see, though, that as we get toward Tuesday, the temps really start to warm back up, mid-upper 70s. Wednesday, Thursday, as lows start to go up some, too. You see a bigger contrast between the low and high at times, which indicates some drier air in there. So, we got to, be careful with that, just when it's dry like this, that can be issues, in terms of just having that dry grass here. That can lead to issues here for sure. So we have to be cognizant of that here. Again, no formal update late Tuesday, early Wednesday. We're back late Thursday, early Friday, unless we need to pop back in sooner. But happy Halloween. I think that chroma key segment was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it there. Thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Don't forget to set those clocks back an hour there Saturday night. Probably need an extra hour of sleep with everything going on, all the different events, Halloween, the big Georgia-Florida game there for last one in Jacksonville for 3 years. years. And then FSU homecoming, the parade's here today, and tomorrow is that big game. Go Noles, wishing the Noles the best here. I know it's been tough there, but Mike Norvell gotta keep giving them, a chance here, just a little bit longer, see if he can turn it around, see if some changes were made, during that bye week that can really help the Noles here. Again, just enjoy things. Happy Halloween, everybody, and just thanks for watching Cloud Weather.